Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of the Russian Federation, is at it again. And he seems to be the hawkish leader at and around Kremlin nowadays. He makes Putin seem like a little puppy, but maybe that's the whole plan, or maybe in order to cover your allegiance, you are overdoing it, if you know what I mean. And if you don't know, that's the way it is. When you're a spy, or you're a double agent, or you're an agent of a different country, and you are implanted in the leadership of another country, you're going to be the staunchest supporter of the policy of that current government. So you can't be, you will be overlooked when they're looking for traitors. They'll be like, oh, Medvedev, no, look what he said. No, he can't be. Let's move on. And Medvedev makes a lot of noise, has been making a lot of noise since February 24th of 2022. And I'm not saying he is an agent of a foreign country in Russia, but there's always an opportunity, a possibility. So this article comes from Ukrainska Pravda, and Mr. Medvedev made a lot of statements, very direct and you can say extreme statements. Now, this is the title. Medvedev wants to punish Russia's traitors, quote unquote, under wartime rules. All right, let's see what's wrong with that, or what's good with that, or bad, whatever it is. Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, has suggested dealing with Russian traitors, and I'm quoting, according to wartime rules, with the help of, and I'm quoting, silent groups, end quote. What do you mean, silent groups? I might know, but I want to hear him say it. And I'm quoting, the debate over how to deal with traitors who have defected to the enemy and wish death on their motherland has resumed there, on the internet and on Telegram. In particular, there are some useless pieces of you know what I mean, who until recently considered themselves to be the so-called intellectual elite. Well, they were intellectual elite, but not your elite. Your intellectually, they have different kind of thoughts. To be an intellectual doesn't mean you have, anyway, that's for a different video. I have already, and I'm quoting, I'm continuing to quote Mr. Medvedev, I have already shared my thoughts about this topic recently, but there was a serious conversation between the officials about how to act according to the law or according to justice. It is necessary to provide an explanation. Well, remember, according to the law or according to justice. So the law is not just. Or maybe he wants to be in charge of dispensing justice the way he sees it. I think the second option. So let's see. Of course, only according to the law. See, he gave you that. But he gave you a little bit something of the other thing. So he's like, I would like to do that, but I will not. Well, just that you're thinking of it, it's already in itself and could be considered an evidence that you are considering doing that. Anyway, but if the law does not work, what I mean, does not achieve its goal, then according to special wartime rules, let's call the experience of the Great Patriotic War, that is the Second World War, and other countries, there were always such special rules during the war, and silent groups of impeccably inconspicuous people who effectively carried them out. So, silent groups of impeccably inconspicuous people who effectively carried them out, end quote. You know what those are? They were the commissars. The commissars used to go, come over here, let's go to the side, outside of the city, bam, bam, shallow grave, bulldozed over, next one, or next ones. That reminds me of the Katyn forest massacre in, I think it was 1939, 1940, perpetrated by the Soviets, the commissars, when they invaded the other side of Poland, without having any declaration of war instituted against them by the free world. Isn't that strange? That the British and the French declared war on Germany for good reason, for invading Poland, their ally, their vassal state at that time, but not on Soviet Union, which did the same thing, invaded their friend, their ally, their vassal state from the east, did the same thing. No declaration of war on the communists. I wonder why. Because if you look at it, the capitalists were much further from the Soviet communists, Bolsheviks, than were to the Nazis in Germany. Those at least pretended to be capitalists to a certain extent, weren't they? So anyway, and the freedoms and the purges and Stalin, by that time, if you compare it by that time, 1939, Hitler with Stalin, I think we have a clear winner there. Who's the, you know what I mean? So anyway, they had those little commissar groups. If you want a little literary work, you can get Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate for literature, as his book, one of them, a great book, it's called The Gulag Archipelago. Well, it's a politically incorrect book nowadays because you can find names, you can find the origin of those in charge, you can find the pattern, you can find the proportionality, you can find, and he talks about these guys in charge of the gulags, the guys in charge of the secret police, which is the quiet group, right? These commissars and so on. So I hope he's not talking about that, but I'm 99.9% certain Medvedev is talking about those, exactly those. Now that's very concerning. Very concerning. And now, Medvedev did not explain what he meant. I just did for him. Some parliamentaries of the State Duma of the Russian Federation have suggested coming up with a set of restrictive measures for people who criticize the war against Ukraine, the so-called special military operation, and who have left Russia. In particular, depriving them of Russian citizenship or banning them from escaping the Russian Federation for 20 years. No, I wouldn't do that. Remember Jane Fonda? That actress, C-D-E-F-G rated actress, just because she was the daughter of her father, right? Mr. Fonda, I can remember his, Jake Fonda, I can remember what the hell was his first name. Anyway, I liked that actor in particular, the dad. Like many times it happens, you know, you have the real guy, and then you have all these weasels, children and nephews and all that they are actors all of a sudden because some doors were open for them, and they're average at best. So remember Jane Fonda in Vietnam? Remember? All right, what happened? Well, she was kind of considered a traitor, wasn't she? I know she's the darling of the communists and all that, and she admired Ho Chi Minh, and others who admire Ho Chi Minh, right? You can think of whatever you want to, you know, the Vietnamese fighting for the land and all that. You can do that, but Ho Chi Minh was not really, during that time, at least a whatever they considered him. But Ho Chi Minh lived in Paris. He was a cook. He even showed up in 1917, 18. After the Versailles, he showed up and he came with a declaration of we want Vietnam to be out of Indochina and so on. And he made his little declaration of independence, like the the U.S. Declaration of Independence. He wrote one. He tried to have an independent Vietnam and all that, and get rid of the French and whomever were in Indochina at that time. And he did not succeed, and then whatever happened with the support of communists, he succeeded something else. Good. But Jane Fonda, who was a U.S. citizen at that time, and still, I think she's still alive, 1,000 years old. Anyway, she went over there to Vietnam, and she went to some POWs camps, and there are a lot of reports. It's for you to do your homework if you didn't, to see how she supported the enemy versus her own country. Now, you can say, well, my country's decision is bad. You're still a U.S. citizen, and you are on the other side, so how do you call that one? You know what I mean? So it's like here, if someone in Ukraine, good or bad, makes some comments and goes to the Russians and loves Vladimir Putin and goes and interviews somebody, and that basically on the other side, how do you think the Ukrainians will respond to that? Oh, it's okay, Jane, come back, we're gonna love you to death, if you know what I mean. So the same here, I mean, put the shoe on the other foot and see how it fits. The same here. What do you expect? Russia is at war. How are we going to take it? In their brain, existential war against the West, who wants to destroy them. That's how they see it. What are they going to do about it? And that's not only Putin who sees that, and three other guys around him, the Russian population. Oh, propaganda. Well, yes and no. I'm not going to go over the list of evidence to support certain kind of claims. I think you know them, and if you watch my videos for, I don't know, 8 months, you can find me making it clear who's who, what's what, based on historical evidence, not on interpretations. Evidence. It was 2014 a coup d'etat. Was it an overthrow of a legitimate democratically elected government in Ukraine? Yes, you can't deny that whatsoever. What does that mean? And so on. Use only this kind of evidence that they are there. Was this supported by outside services? That's fact. It's not me just pulling out of that. And look at other things. What happened with Yanukovych, with the president of then Ukraine, 2014? And no, it was not a lovely insurrection then. Let's put it this way. So we have Jane Fonda. She's rehabilitated. She was great. She was fantastic. Is that how it works? Is that how it works? I mean, imagine Jane Fonda being a Ukrainian, going and doing the same thing on the Russian side. Just because she just disagrees with Zelensky and the policy of the country. Or imagine that Jane Fonda is a Russian and goes to the Ukrainians. What should the Russians do? Say, oh, it's okay, she has the right to speak. In a war, certain kind of rights, liberties are a little bit more for obvious reasons. Look what the Ukrainians are doing with the free mass media in Ukraine. They ban stations, they ban this. If you say something, bam. They just revoked about 20 priests, I think, of the Russian, Moscow, Ukrainian, Orthodox, whatever, of their citizenship. Ukrainian citizenship. Why? Because they had some papers that say, well, we like this or we like that. Freedom of speech, right? Monks. They didn't prove any collaboration in a way of spying or anything like that. So what is that? There was an article that came out and said that they revoked about 20 monks or whatever, priests, and they all fled to Moscow. Now, should they come back now to Ukraine? Should Ukraine say, yeah, it's okay? Or should do what this guy says? I'm against what Medvedev said 100%. Let's start with that one. I disagree with that. I disagree with thugs, uncontrolled thugs, go in the middle of the night or in a plain day because they have guns, all right, and they're part of the government, and go over there and get you or get whoever they want and distribute their justice. I thought that's very bad. If something like this happens, and I think it happens under the cover of a co-op. You cooperate with this. We're gonna remove you. Remember how many removals were in Ukraine? Not lately, but maybe 2 months or 3 months back. They removed about 400 people or something from high elected and appointed officials in Ukraine. They collaborated with the Russians and spies and this and that. Which no doubt something like this occurred. But do you think that they were like that? It's like you would say, okay, Stalin's 20 million people that he killed, which he did not kill, his guys like this, like Kaganovich and others, oversee the whole operation. Do you think that Stalin knew 20 million people? No. Well, his policy, and who worked about that policy? Is they say, well, you're a threat, you're the enemy of the Soviet Union. Who determines that? A human being or two. And if they don't like you, what do you think they're going to do? And come on, it's about humans and thugs. So imagine those guys being in charge of distributing this kind of justice. Medvedev is, I think, is talking about, soft power, soft darkness, quiet. Not good at all. That doesn't sound good at all. But maybe he's playing the role of the bad cop. If you want to consider Putin the good cop. But anyway, I think they say, well, see that crazy over there? If that guy gets in charge, then look what he said. Then. So take it easy, talk with this guy. That's very, very possible. Well, dangerous talk, but what do you want? Passion is running high. And remember, Zelensky said, if you're not Ukrainian, you should leave Ukraine or something like that. Crazy talk. Remember, it was about, I don't know, how many months ago. And if not, what's going to happen? Can you guess? Yeah, you will be helped. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.